Hi friends, welcome back to All at Once Fingerstyle, where we're playing melodic fingerstyle. What we're going to do today is something different than what we've done before. We're going to take a tune that almost everybody who has sat down to play at a piano has played before. Chopsticks. Can it be played on the guitar? Yes, it can. In fact, it can be a very interesting arrangement. And so I want to use this as our example of how we're developing a piece of music today. So first off, what we want to do is take a look just at the melody. It's got two parts, but we're going to do one at a time. A lot of the high E. I did that all with my ring finger because I'm in my home position here. For this particular arrangement, I may be changing where my thumb goes, and it might play a little bit on the G string, so getting out of the home position a little bit. So that's the first two lines. Let's do the second part. Now let's put those two together. Same outside fingers. Now, let's just talk about what's going on here. This is I hope you're going to have fun with this like I have, because this is one of those tunes that just goes way back in my memory. But the right hand isn't changing until we get to here, and then we're skipping the B string when we do those sixths. And then we have a little contrary motion, because the D stays the same, but the G sharp and the F sharp go right next to each other. Let's just do that again. Contrary. I've chosen the key of A because it allows us to do some things with the bass notes when we get to that. We're not there yet, but I liked having those notes open, and that's why we're trying it in this key first. That's the A section. And the B section, this song actually kind of goes A, B, B, A. We're going to come back to that. But now let's go to the B section. You'll notice that throughout this whole B section, we're skipping. We're using that sweet harmony from the G to the E string. Together, together, slant, together. Together, slant. Slant, 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 slant. Now we're between the D and the B string. Together, slant, slant. I'm saying these because there is a predictable pattern. Slant, together, slant, together, slant, slant, together, together, slant. Goes between D and B. And here it's slant, together, together, slant, slant. Sorry, let me do it again. Slant, together, slant. Slant, together, together, slant. Together, together, slant. And that lets us keep these predictable patterns, which lets us play this beautiful harmony. And now I'm here. I could go all the way back here to play those, but I want to go up to get those notes so I can stay on the same strings. And that lets me strategically be ready to jump to the 9, 9, 7, 5, 6, 4, 2, 0, 1. And then we're ready to start over again. That's the tricky shift. Now let's put the whole first part together. B part 9. And then we do it again. Come to the end of the first Chopsticks exercise. So I don't know if you found yourself surprised that this can be played on the guitar. It's going to become more apparent why I chose A in just a little bit. I do want to pay attention to the fact that we've done this in 6/8 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the B part is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got kind of the hornpipey, bouncy rhythm. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is take a look at this as a waltz, where instead of doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. It can look a lot the same because there are 6/8 notes in both measures, but here, because of adding a bass note on the 1, and here's where it can become apparent that I chose the key of A because this is a 2-chord song. It uses the chord A and it uses the chord E. Well, I've got a string named A, I've got a string named E. While I'm doing what I've already done, I can add a bass note. Sorry, here we go. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Let's try it again, just because the timing is tricky. The bass note only happens at the beginning of the measure. A, E, A, One more time. A. Now it's the nines, and here's where the bass comes in, still at the beginning of the measure. Do the B part again. 9, 7. Here's where the bass note comes in. Now it's an E. Stays at E, A. 9, 7 with the bass note, or with the E. Now let's put the A and the B part together. Beginning 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 2, 3, The C part is like the A. So now I hope you can see why I chose to do it in this key, because I want to have that bass note there to change. There's not a lot different from between the first one, which is in 6/8 time clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, and it's still eighth notes, but because of where we're accenting, and that shows up by where the bass comes in, we're giving it a completely different feel. So while our fingers may be doing similar things with the right hand, because of the change of meter, it feels like a different song. Let's put those two together so you can put them side by side. 9, 7. Begin the B part. Now we go to the waltz. 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Now, what sometimes people call a typical fingerstyle exercise or arrangement is one where things are in 4/4 timing. This is a triple meter thing, or a compound meter tune, which doesn't endlessly divide in half. It divides down into threes, which is why we have 6/8 and we have 3/4. But once we have learned to play the melody and the two parts that go with it, and we move it into 4/4 time, it gets to have a syncopated feel. And now what I've done is I've added a suspended chord, because that's what's part of the melody. Can you see what's happening? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But I'm using my go-to fingerstyle pattern, which is pinch, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb. 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 For the parts that are answering. And then because we're in 4/4 time, you'll notice there are some triplets in the musical notation, because that's where you get 3 in the place of 2, and they're triplet half notes. So they don't go faster, but 3 do fit in the space where 2 used to fit in. But we're in 4/4 time. The A sus chord and then the A chord are just one note apart from each other in the left hand. Now this may be a weird chord shape for you to play. It's really a pretty luscious E. You're taking the D7 you're used to. You might play it with your first, second, and third fingers, but when you play it with your second, third, and pinky, you move it up 2 frets so that your bar is in the 2nd fret, and don't cover the low E. That gives you an E and a B and an E, along with that D7 shape. Lets you have that sweet G sharp on the top. And you'll notice I don't have to pick up my bar, I just have to lift up fingers. So we have that same tricky thing right there. And now we're back to the sus chord. I think it's kind of I don't want to say hypnotic, but it's playful. I like that it takes what we're used to. When 2 kids or 1 kid sits down at the piano and goes da 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 da. This, we've all heard this, but for me it just feels exciting that we can take it and do some things with it, like this. And this might be the trickiest part. So pinch, thumb 1, thumb 2, 1, or thumb, pinch, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb. And my go-to fingerstyle is that pinch and then thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb. And you know when I'm saying that I'm talking about my home position. thumb playing the low E, A, and D strings. The first finger, pointer, playing the G, second finger playing B, and ring finger playing the high E. So it's pinch, thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb. Let's bring it up just a little bit faster. Now, we've got all these different parts. We've got just playing the two pieces together. We could play individually the different melody parts. We can divide those up. And then we can do the 6/8, then we can do the waltz, and we can do the 4/4 as a possible idea for an arrangement that takes the one tune and plays it in 3 or 4 different ways. So let's go through that whole arrangement right now. I'm going to play just the high part first. Now let's just do the harmony that is the moving part. Now let's put them together. Going on. to the waltz. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3. 1, and 2, and 3, and 1. Now let's move to the fingerstyle exercise. I was thinking a different chord. Now let's pick that up to a little bit faster speed. 1 and 2 and da 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 da. So I went back and I added something that wasn't even written down. I just played the melody without the other stuff on the D string in the middle octave instead of the low octave or the high octave. Well, I think this shows the development of a simple 2-chord song that a lot of us have known for most of our lives, which can be transcribed and placed on the guitar by thinking strategically about what key we're going to play and how much do we want to change it, what do we want to use to support it. And just to talk through the theory again at the beginning, I wanted to play it just like a child with 2 fingers, which is how the tune got named Chopsticks. It's like you have 2 chopsticks and you're just chop, 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 chop on the notes on the piano. But then if we take it and tease it a little bit and give it a bass note that pulses on the 1 instead of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is typical of a jig in 6/8 timing. We went with a waltz, which is 3/4 timing. That's kind of that. Even though we're playing about the same thing, there's a different feel. Then moving into 4/4 timing and adding a suspended chord to giving us more inside instead of just the melody notes. And as I did that a little strum there at the 5th fret, which lets me get the trickiest part of the song out of the way in an accurate way. I'm not certain I have anything else to say about this, but I am open to the questions you might have about this particular piece, and whether or not you'd have ideas of playing in a different order. I've done it from simple to progressively more interesting, I would say. Maybe a little more difficult, but you know, that isn't the only way to create an arrangement. We could start with the fancy thing and then pare it down so that we're back where we started, or we could start simple, get fancy, and come back. That's a little what I did when I played the melody the last time through on the middle octave. I simplified it and just brought it out to be clean, and slowed down the tempo. Well, if you have any questions, please ask, and I'll be glad to talk to you about it. We're nearing the completion of this course. We have one more week. We had to postpone that 1 week, if you remember. And so we have one more week in which we're going to take one more tune and develop it. And this one's going to be how to play it in several different places on the fretboard. So we're playing the same melody. Here we stayed with the melody in the same place, but did differently what we did to support it underneath. There we're going to take it and move it up the fretboard and see what else we can fit in to a very fine tune. And that will be the culmination of our all at once fingerstyle. So thanks for joining me today. If you have your questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to give you an answer that'll be helpful. And then we'll see you next time. Have fun playing. Checking. So let's have a little more in the volume of the microphone. All right, friends. So if you have any questions, please let me know what they are so we can address what's going on here. Not seeing any questions at this moment. So here is a question I'm seeing. It's a general kind of question. The question is, when I look at many fingerstyle arrangements and play it, I seem to lose the melody. And in this case, when we get to the 4/4 arrangement of Chopsticks, I can see why that happens, because we're used to hearing it just like this, and things are happening off temp or off the beat. why it's important, I think, to do the parts before we get to the 4/4 fingerstyle. I don't just launch right into the 4/4 arrangement adaptation of the tune. I start with the other things. And because I want to set up in the hearer's mind what the melody is, so that when and then I do a little, rubato pause right there to get us back to the beginning in case anybody's lost it. And then playing with the triplet kind of feel in the second half. I'm still, it's playing with the timing, but we're using the same intervals that are there if you would be playing this on the piano. So that gives us in the B part a chance to do something a little bit different, but still follow the expected notion of what the tune is, so that people don't get lost. Now, one of the reasons, just to keep going with your question, one of the things that tends to happen, I notice, when people are playing something, they will come up to me and say, do you have the arrangement for this? Or do you have the tablature for this? And it's like, there isn't one set of tablature. Here's my arrangement. And if I put these three things together as an exercise into an arrangement, I've built into it what the melody is, setting up that expectation. And then I've played with it in timing wise a little bit, and then I take it out of its normal place, not just 6/8 to 3/4, but now to 4/4, so it's a syncopated kind of thing. And then I can come back to playing the melody in 4/4, or I can go back to do the first part over again. So that's when I was talking about the sweep of the arrangement, that's what you want to build in so that that doesn't get lost. But I do understand what you're asking, because sometimes I'll look at an arrangement and I won't know where the melody is. I might not be as familiar with the tune as I am with Chopsticks. And there are some ways, I have not found it in Guitar Pro yet, but there are some ways to make the number bigger for what the melody is, so that you can kind of have a visual, oh, I need this, or the note head bigger. In Finale, I can do that. I can make both the note head bigger, and I can make both and the melody number on the tablature bigger. In Guitar Pro, I have not found out how to do that yet. The other thing you can do is have stems ups and stems down to delineate what's your accompaniment and what's your melody. And I've done that for several of the pieces in this course. So those are a couple of ways for the player to clearly get what's happening. Then for the hearer to do it, the player has to make sure that the articulation of the fingers is clear, and that all the fancy accompaniment stuff doesn't overflower. It's like you have too many leaves and you have one flower and you can't see the flower, or or too many flowers, you can't see the fruit. And here's another thing here's another question. On the fingerstyle sheet music, why are the tab numbers inside a cartouche within the triplets? And what I've got to say is I've never heard the word cartouche before. I think it's a great word. So now I've got to do a little research and figure out. I think what I'm seeing here is that Guitar Pro uses those circles that you're calling a cartouche as a way of delineating that these notes are half notes, or they could be a dotted half, or without a stem they could be a whole note. I think that's what's happening. I know that this doesn't happen in Finale, that when I make my notes it just tells me what the tablature numbers are. In Guitar Pro, if there's a straight line as a quarter note, if there's a beam that goes to another one, or a flag, that's an eighth note. If I have a double beam or a double flag, it's a 16th note, and 3 for 32nd and 4 for 64th. And then the circle or the cartouche is just telling us that these are half note triplets. So I think that's what's going on there. And for the person who said this is a fun exercise, I'm glad you find it fun as well. There might be some other children's tunes or growing up tunes that you could think of using as a way of developing a tune. I had fun with one of my private students yesterday who is 7 years old, who guitar is brand new, but piano has some background and ukulele has some background. So we're playing, and I said, "Do you know the Paw Paw Patch song?" She said, "No, I don't know that." And so I said, using her name, "Where, oh, where is little your name? Where, oh, where?" Sitting, playing her guitar. And then she got this big grin on her face. I said, "Have you ever been in a song before?" I mean, that's a way to take something that is either familiar or a little different, personalize it. That's what I'm doing with the arranging of the tunes like this, too. Do we have any other questions? Let's see if I did. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Trying to change keys and see what happens. Putting it in C. That's fun. I never thought about trying it in C before. See what happens when you work on something and people ask questions. It takes your brain in some interesting places. And what I'm doing is using this same. There are these predictable patterns. They also work between any of the other strings when you skip a string. So of this being played on that big piano in the movie Big with Tom Hanks and I'm going to forget her name. I can see her face. 1980s and 90s actress. And the character actor who played the owner of the company, who had so much fun playing. Aha. Let me just check something here. So do we have any more questions? Remember that you can always, in the community part of Jam Play, you can always connect with me. and ask questions if you're afraid of asking them in front of other people. But remember also that when you're in a group of people and you are the one who asks the question, you are almost never the only one who has that question. There are a lot of people who won't admit they had the question, but if you're the one who asked it, you're the brave one who's helping out the community. And I love questions. Questions are okay. I see there's an issue with the sheet music. Let's see. So it looks like there's a question. The sheet music is not accessible in the practice tab. Is that what you're saying? I am clicking on it right now, and it downloads to my computer. So it looks like it's fine to me. I don't, and it's there both as a Guitar Pro PDF and a PNG file. So, okay, reload the page. Got it. Okay. And here's another question. What is, for review, what is an approach to a fingerstyle arrangement? Or this might be checking in summary. 1, find the melody, find the chords, find the rhythm you want to play, and find the embellishments. All right, check email. Okay, that appears to be working, but let's wake up email. Open up. Okay, now my email's slow to open. I'm not certain why. Okay, well, it looks like there's another question that I'm preparing to answer as soon as I can see what it is. Thumb pick too. See if I can find it on my phone. Not showing up there. You know that time when all the things are conspiring against you? Now it appears to be there. Okay. Okay. Okay, here's a question. Is simulating the wide intervals what helps the translation from piano to guitar? I think in this case, for this particular tune, that is what's happening. I think that's what helps our ears say, yes, I know this tune, this is familiar. And moving around on the guitar, doing the same thing. I think yes. So it could be possible to completely what happens if I move it in a different octave? Trying it with thirds instead of sixths, it still has the sweetness because the third and the sixth have the same sweetness. And so it can still work because it has the sweetness. What if I did fourths instead of thirds? Or the third above? Let's see. It could work. But I think our ear would have a harder time hearing the melody. But thank you for that, because I had not considered that option. I did stick with the piano to guitar kind of intervals, but I could try that. And that's what I think is lovely about this, is when you're arranging and exploring, you can try things that haven't been done or have not been made popular yet. Now, here's another question. For something like this, and you're listening to what I said earlier, for something like this arrangement, how important is it to pick a key that has the open bass string notes? For me, I found it very important for accessibility. But it could be also possible that I could do this so that I would want to play. Let's see if I wanted to do this. I could use. I'm looking for a different, the G shape. To simplify what I can do with my left hand by making use of open bass notes, that helps my whole arranging process and my performance process. So I think that was pretty important. But you'll notice if I would want to have a moving bass line or something like that, then you'll notice a lot of people in their fingerstyle arrangements are going to be hooking their thumb when they're playing the D shape up here. They want a bass note that goes with it. And so, or they'll find the note that's also, they'll find the note that they can get with a finger. But if you don't have to use a finger, I think it's a little more accessible. So that's why I thought that was pretty important. Okay, Well, if there are no more questions, then I'm going to wrap it up for today, and thank you for joining me for this fun adventure with this tune. We have one more session in this class. Remember, we had, like I mentioned, we had to postpone the one, and so next week we'll be looking at developing another one that uses the whole fretboard. So join me next week for the conclusion of this series. And thanks for being here. Thanks to Chris and everybody in the back room who is making things work when all the technology is trying to trip us up. This is why you tape down your cables, metaphorically speaking. See you next time.